So hello, my name is Amanda and this is my discussion video to the B part, the second video about the examinations. So at first glance, looking at my AI generated text, it seems that the use of AI has generated a text that is very well connected and relevant to the topic. This tool provides a very efficient and has the ability to provide examples and contextualize information, which facilitates understanding, especially maybe for individuals that are not fully familiar with the subject. That is like my first thoughts just looking at this AI generated text. What really helps me when AI is good and includes this example, of course, asking for them, but yeah, it add a feeling and makes the text more personal and for me easier to understand. It's fascinating how clearly I understand the text when these examples are used, which shows, I think, it makes me think that this shows how our brains often maybe need information put into context to understand and to learn the best. And I think it's important to bear this in mind as we begin to generate text with AI. That is, remembering that we should not just write things to explain something, but rather to genuinely elucidate it. Therefore, we must make ourselves understood. And when one formulates something themselves, I think, we express it based on like our own understanding, which I believe makes it more likely for another person to understand it as well. And however, if AI that is doing the explaining and it's much better to understand with these difficult words and without maybe the needing of example tied to the reality. It might omit those parts, and I'm thinking in the way that this could maybe result in a in just like complex text that indeed they explain the subject, but what is a good explanation if a human cannot comprehend it and understand it and then use it? That is one thing I was just thinking a lot of in this making this text, that how in need of the example. So if you look at my text, you will see I have the structure of three topics answering the question. And first is a part where it explains, and then there's an example part. And it's not until the example part comes that I really understand what I read before it. So the need of this example for me to understand what was explained makes me just think how it's important. I think it's important to remember to keep the how to say it. I think it just made me realize how important it is to just understand what I'm reading for it to make sense. And when I say it sounds like, yeah, of course, but that was just the big thing I was thinking of. Yeah. First, and if I'm to discuss the text with and writing process from another, I think, ethical standpoint, a thought that arises focusing on the risk I ponder about this written text is that when I see how clearly AI reproduces what has already been discussed in my notes and lectures, it's fascinating how AI discuss very similar to my lecture notes. And what I have written most about in my notes from the lectures that is very similar to the things that AI produce and that AI also thinks is important, if I can say so. But, and that first point is for me, oh, interesting. But then therein, I think, lies a problem that is, do we really want a lot of submissions that reproduce the same things? And I come up with the answer no, of course, I don't think so. I believe that if AI does not write about the topic, which is complex and could be approached from so many different perspectives and not just what the professor has talked the most about, we could get more diverse submissions. For example, what AI brings up when was not the most important and interesting thing to me. It's according to the professor, what he thinks is the most important. If I just say that the things they talked most about is the thing most important, it's maybe not like that, but yeah. But that is not what was most important to me. With my backgrounds and my interests, how can these lectures contribute to my own thoughts and reflections? I'm studying this course with a background in economics, and there was a specific part of lecture 5 that caught my interest the most, where we discussed how they, quote, believe in freedom and the price of free relates to use of artificial intelligence in global supply chains and the international political economy. In today's global economy, AI has become a central component in the production and distribution of goods and services worldwide. Companies use AI to automate and optimize various parts of the production process, which can increase efficiency and reduce costs. And at the same time, there's a widespread belief that many digital products and services are free for users, but this has created a culture where many expect access to digital resources without having to pay for them. But if the quote, if you're not paying for the product, you are the product, which we talked about. I think it was interesting. It's a point to the hidden cost of so-called free services, but by using free services, users often give away personal information and data, which can be sold, used by companies for advertising purposes or other purposes. This business model, known as data-driven marketing or surveillance capitalism, means that users become the product sold to advertise or other stakeholders. In this context of global supply chains and the international political economy, we can see how this dynamic affect the power relations between different actors. Companies that collect and analyze large amounts of users' data through AI have significant economic power, of course, and that can also affect political decisions and regulation regarding data protection and privacy, which in turn can be shape an entire international political economy. And yeah, why I'm saying all this, yeah, that is because that is what I found the most interesting about this theme B. And if I would choose what this text would talk about, it would be that. But because AI choose, it does not talk about this. So what's my point with this? Yeah, I want to empathize that when we use AI, it tend to focus on what most people already know or what most people has discussed. It's tempting to think when reading my text, the AI text, wow, so well written, and it makes sense. It aligns with my lecture notes. Yeah, the risk here is just that we do not get a diversity of thoughts and perspective in the submissions. And wouldn't we have gotten more if all students further pondered what interests them and contributed their own perspectives to the topic. I believe so. Yeah. That is, I think, what I wanted to say. So just how this process made me, okay, this writing process, this AI part B, and the part B of the AI generated text made me think of, okay, the importance of when we discuss this complex things, the importance of not letting AI do the whole job just because it explains, but also make sure that we really come up with texts that make us understand. That is the first point. And the second point is, okay, how do we also remember to talk about the risk of not only talking about the most talked things in this question, but the every little, to not forget this thing and this thing and this thing, which we need humans to contribute with, because this human contribute with this part because that is what she thinks is interesting, and this human come with this little thing that the professor said and makes her essay about it because that is what makes sense to her, and then this, yeah. So that is what my thoughts after reading this text and comparing it to my lecture notes and course literature was. Yeah. Thank you.